so are you. Welcome back to Set Status Online. And this week I have Shea Karssing on the podcast, who's a content strategist, copywriter, SEO specialist, all the good things, incredibly qualified, also an author, because why not? But a post of hers inspired this episode, which is around this idea that AI content just often feels so much like AI content that we can't take it seriously. And in her post, she mentioned this idea of AI beige. And it really got me thinking, and this episode and this conversation got me thinking even more. But I think what's really interesting about it is how do we avoid this idea of AI beige? And it comes from this lens of AI is not the problem. AI is a great tool, and AI can be incredibly powerful and incredibly helpful. But obviously you want to use it to stand out, not to be generic. But how do we do that when the stuff it spits out is more often than not generic? And Shea has some really interesting ideas. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let the conversation start. But I really do hope you enjoy. And if you have any thoughts, please let me know, because I think this conversation could have gone on for multiple hours. But yes, enjoy and see you on the other side. So very introductory level, I guess the first thing I wanted to ask was, what is AI beige? Like, how do you understand AI beige? What does that look like from where you're sitting? And then, was there a specific moment where you realized that this was a thing that irritated you or that frustrated you or that worried you? Like, was there a specific post or a specific context where you see it more? Maybe just start us there.
Yeah, so I would define AI beige as, look, okay, firstly, I want to say I have absolutely nothing against using AI. I think it is so powerful. It has changed my job for the better. It has changed my writing, and I'm all in. Firstly, I just want to say, totally not anti-AI. I am anti-AI beige, and by AI beige, we've all seen it, as you were saying, like on LinkedIn, for example, the posts that all sound the same, and you think, is this really something that this person is bringing anything unique to the table, or is just this something that any old bot could churn out? I mean, you could create, I don't know the maths on it, but if you were to use ChatGPT, you could probably create, 100 LinkedIn posts in 2 minutes, right? So we've gone past the point where content volume is important. We're coming back to content quality. So I think what first tipped me off, I'm sure you remember, it was probably in 2024 when the likes of large language models like ChatGPT came into use. And oh my gosh, the social posts with all the rockets. I'm done. I'm so done with the rockets. It was like every single account suddenly, every business account, every personal account, there were just rockets and emojis for days. I think people have gotten over that, which is great. But that was kind of tell where I was like, okay, I think this account has just gone straight to whatever ChatGPT has spat out or whatever large language model they're using.
So I care a lot about this sort of like AI not really standing out, because firstly it augments a lot of the run-of-the-mill stuff, I guess, that I do online, whether it's doing social posts or marketing or helping summarize stuff into something that I can then use or send off. But I think there's also obviously the professional advantage of using AI to do quick drafting or mock-ups. As a designer, this is like super useful. But then there's this fear in me when I see AI beige, and I notice it like almost instantaneously. And then that sort of triggers me to think, how obvious is the stuff that I post to other people? Whether it's coming across as very, boring or beige, as we put it. Just to contextualize this, like, why does this matter so much for the work you do or the work you do with other people? Like, why is AI beige a thing you want to be aware of?
I think because AI exists, we need to more than ever be ourselves and be human and be authentic. That is what other people crave from us. People buy from people. So if you are in any kind of business, people want to see that you are invested and it's your unique point of view or whatever it is. I mean, in the same way, I don't know how many of us actually have chatbot friends, that we could call a friend. Personally, I'd rather phone up a real person if I'm having a problem or need to someone. And I know there certainly is a use case for using large language models for that. But I think for the most part, we want to more than ever to a person, even in customer service. I mean, I know it's very frustrating these days where you just land up in a chatbot loop and you actually can't get the help that you need. You're directed to multiple help articles, and you actually just think, if I could just speak to a human being for 1 minute, my problem would be solved. So I think that reason why I personally have an issue with AI beige is because we don't want beige. We want to see you in all your glory, whether it's perfectly grammatical, whether it's smart or I care less about that and more about knowing that it's an actual human who's given this some thought. So I think the fact that AI exists is why we all should care about AI beige.
And I mean, I guess this is sort of starting to get at the crux of it, because I think the question then becomes when is it a good time to use AI? And also, and I mean, that's like opening a Pandora's box of things, but I think specifically, how do you avoid AI beige when you use AI? I think that's potentially a more useful way of looking at it. And the one thing that I'm curious from your opinion is this phenomenon of AI beige, is it more because of the models or the large language models that it becomes AI beige, or is it because of our input or our engagement with it? Like which has a greater impact on this AI beige stuff that comes out?
So I think it's both. So I mean, firstly, the way these models work is they are guessing the most sort of statistically likely next string of words. They're not thinking. That's what's important to remember. So they'll naturally drift to what they expect to be more familiar or widely accepted, right? So, the model is limited, the usage comes in. The model's limited, but it can still be powerful. So I actually went to a talk recently by someone who sort of consults on AI. And what he mentioned, and I totally agree, is something where it's at least an 80-20% rule. So if you can put in at start to begin 10% really good human input, which is your prompt, which is your context, etc., then you can use 80% of AI to do the heavy lift back and add another 10% of your human nuance, your judgment, layer that back in. And I think that's how you can use it smartly to avoid the beige. So you're starting with strong human-led prompting. You're letting the model do the hard work, as you were talking about, and then you really tailor it and add just that flavor that a human can bring, where you're not just guessing what the next word or the next pattern should be. So I think the model's limited, but there are smarter ways to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's that, and I totally think it's a thing you sort of have to figure out for yourself, but there is that sort of collaborative workflow, and I think every particular task will probably have a different practical application of that, but I think broadly speaking, making sure that I think largely speaking, you can say that there's a human input at the beginning and a human input at the end, and that's sort of the biggest safeguard you can put into. And I think, it's tempting the minute ChatGPT or whatever else you use spits something out to just like send or post or use. It's difficult when it's so easy to take that extra step. So I think that makes total sense. And I mean, I think the 80-20 rule is in any case something that I love using in general. That 20% versus 80%. I think it's a great sort of model. What still fascinates me is why, and if we look at brands in particular, I mean, I think the Olympics came under fire most recently for their use of AI in some of their marketing material. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, what you've seen, why do you feel like brands default to using AI so much?
I think speed is part of it. I think, our expectations and the online world is so crowded, right? So people feel like they need to produce more and be everywhere and be doing it all the time and constantly and creating new stuff all the time, in order just to grab that awareness. So I think it's just escalated. And AI has made that worse because now your competitors are putting more stuff out there and it's super easy, whatever it may be. So I think brands make the mistake of treating AI as a shortcut instead of a collaborator. And maybe some of them skip that 10% and 10% part. And more than ever, I mean, as I was saying, I think actually the smart play is to have less content, but make it better quality content. I mean, that's what we're seeing in the world of SEO at the moment. It's not about value. The best content out there that answers all people's questions. It's easy to understand, easy to use. And that piece of content, so I'm talking about content marketing because this is my world, but rather use that one piece of content and then plug that into AI and say, okay, create me 10 social posts based on this really strong piece of content that I already have, add your 10%. And there is smart about what you have, but instead of trying to flood and speak to everyone, you really create something that's high quality and make the most of it. Because especially, as I was saying, in this sort of awareness economy where that's what actually all brands are fighting for, humans actually need a bit of repetition too. So I'm sure we've all seen the stat. I think it's humans need to see something 12 times or whatever it is before they'll actually take action or make a move. With brands who recycle similar content, it takes me a while, but often I end up opening my wallet after seeing that similar kind of message 12 or however many times. So I think we need to go back to, as I was saying, quality over quantity, as brands.
Do you have an example or a sort of standout piece of content that was generated with some sort of level of AI, that you actually liked or that you thought was particularly clever or particularly interesting?
So I do some writing. So I'm not saying it's one of my pieces, but I do some writing for Buffer. It's a social media management tool. And they've just implemented some really cool AI tools that help optimize the article for SEO, point out where it could be better. So you feed all of this in, you get suggestions on that article, but then it takes your human brain and you have to work through line by line to see what's actually working and what's so it's a tool called AirUps. It's not perfect, but it has some really good use cases, and I think it really helps actually up your content game because it's a collaborator. It's helping you find gaps that maybe you haven't identified, but it's still written in your own voice, and we're using. So it's not like these pieces actually take any shorter to create. In fact, it might even take a bit longer because you're not only now doing your own writing, but you're checking it against what the tool's giving you. You're using various tools to bring it to life. So yeah, it's actually not optimizing for speed at all, but rather for real content quality.
And I guess, I mean, my assumption is that the more you use it, the more you learn, and potentially you become less reliant on it over time because you pick up the things it picks up on and then you pick up on it the next time.
And you also learn the limitations, right? So accuracy, so there's a lot of updating of I don't know, pricing and features from different platforms, and a lot of that stuff still ends up being pretty manual.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, it's not there yet.
To take a little bit of a potentially like hot take, but I think what popped into my head, and I think relates to this really nicely, is this idea of like generically good. Like, I think AI is sort of has definitely removed the barrier to entry for a lot of people, but I think what it has done is it's made everyone generically good. So the question is now, like, how do you then, like, if everyone can now write a social media post, like, we're just going to say everyone has some level of writing capabilities now, we're all generically good at it. I think, again, this idea of like what makes it excellent or exceptional is then potentially the thing that is very me, very specific to the life I've lived, the things I've done, the people I know, and that sort of becomes the thing that sets it apart, which I don't know what you think, but I don't think we've ever had the opportunity to be that authentic before, like where it's so leveled that now you can focus completely on you.
And that's one of the reasons why I love AI so much. It's made me a better writer. So firstly, generically good. I am genuinely happy for people who are not writers or don't have suitors. I'm genuinely pleased that more people have the confidence to put something out there. I think that is absolutely wonderful that that barrier has been lifted somewhat. What I would caution is commit to an opinion before you use the AI tool. Simple as that. So you don't need to have anything to be written, or just say, this is what I think. Turn this into a social media post for me, for example. I mean, simple as that. So from your opinion, or this is a story. And you can even, if you're not comfortable writing, use a voice prompt and tell a story from your life, and then get AI to write it up beautifully for you. And I think that it's wonderful that more of us can do that. From my own perspective, so writing a blog post, for example, the way I used to do it was I'd do a whole bunch of internet research, and then I'd collate all of that, write it up myself, and think, okay, cool, that looks great. Now, that's basically what any LLM can do. So I can't do that like that anymore. So what I need to do now is go and find, for example, a unique client case study to include, or get a quote from them, get a story that illustrates that point. Whereas before, I didn't do that as much. And now I'm looking for those real experience-based little nuggets to put into my work. And I think it's made my writing all the better for it, bringing more of the human element to it. So yeah, that's how I've actually stepped up, thanks to AI.
And I think that highlights something quite nicely, or is a really great example of how, like, the risk of something being AI beige, or something being sort of this like AI slop, is really only there if you stop at the point where it gives you the thing. Like, I think what you've just illustrated, like, you essentially get it to take you to the point where you normally would have stopped without the AI, and then you see the opportunity that, like, you have all this extra like runway now to dig deep, or to put in time that you wouldn't normally have had the time to do, which really makes me think that, like, the only reason something is AI beige is if you let it be. Like, sort of coming back to this question of, like, yes, it's probably partly your input and partly the LLM being an aggregate of everything that exists, and therefore it is an aggregate output. But you really do have the opportunity to then say, cool, what can I add to this blueprint that's now been given to me?
And like you say, you've bought yourself some extra time, right? It's done a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So now you actually have more time to invest in digging deeper, which I've really found. And I enjoy my writing more now, because I've got something to do, kind of the framework, what have I forgotten, what I need to include in that stuff. So if it's AI beige, right, it's not going to engage me. So I'm going to scroll on by. the content that I engage with, sure, people may have used AI, but I can tell that they've brought their own experience, their own opinion. And that's what resonates with me because I'm a human, right? And that's what we're looking for, is human connection. And we've been storytellers since the dawn of time. So we're looking for those unique stories that feel genuine and authentic. So that's what I engage with. If someone do that with AI and they've done some really good inputs, I don't care if AI wrote it. I just love that you have still put in that human input that makes me want to connect with you. So AI beige, I don't notice it because I'll just keep scrolling.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with friends and family that you think might find it interesting too. And if you're feeling super, super nice, then leave a review. It would be super appreciated. And yeah, I'd smile a lot. But thank you, and hopefully see you on the next episode.